Hello everyone, Mystery here, and today I want to talk about these darn things. These are called cultist rituals, or Daemonhost rituals, or just rituals. If you haven't seen one of these before, that's because you are either not watching your daily allowance of Mystery content, or you are not playing Havoc in any extent in the new season. These only appear in the Havoc game mode, and for what it's worth, I think they're one of the more engaging mechanics in the game. They're actually so interesting, I am surprised that there has not been an in-game event with these things, because it's something that they clearly put some effort into, and you don't get to see it as a player who isn't playing Havoc. So why am I talking about this today? Well, this is a cool mechanic that I think, like many things with Havoc, is very undercooked. So I'm going to be going over, firstly, how this is supposed to work, then how it ends up working in practicality, including all of the little idiosyncrasies and weird quirks that it has, and then we're going to be talking about the myriad of bugs that this system implements, that this mechanic implements, because while it is my favorite modifier for Havoc, it can be really irritating because of how buggy and unpredictable it is. So let's hop right into it. I won't be demonstrating anything in the arena. We're going to be demonstrating it in Photoshop. Okay, well, welcome back to my really expert rendition of how these Daemonhost rituals are supposed to work in theory. So as you can see here, this is very clearly the player over here, this triangle on the left, and on the right, that's the Daemonhost ritual, surrounded by the summoners and the demon right in the center here, or the Daemonhost rather. And what is supposed to go on is that when you're adventuring through a map and there's like walls and stuff in front of you, say there's like a big wall here, you're wandering around and you don't have line of sight to this thing, but you can hear the chanting. You can hear that there is a summoning ritual somewhere nearby. So this should cue you off that pretty soon you will see a Daemonhost. And when you finally move to a position where you can now see the Daemonhost ritual, then it starts the summoning process. So you'll get that little bar at the top of your screen and it'll start to fill up. Now this bar has two variable rates. The first rate is a very slow rate. When you are out of this thing's threatened range, once you're in like this hypothetical circle that kind of goes around it, and you have aggroed it to start, it's going to be progressing very slowly. You have several minutes to formulate a plan and act. And this is the time where a lot of times people panic because it's on the top of the screen. Oh my god, if this thing gets summoned, it's, oh no, what's gonna happen, right? But don't panic at this point, because if you watch it, it only ticks in very small increments, and it takes a long time to fill all the way up, several minutes at the very least. Now, if you advance it a little bit farther forward, so you advance to here, there's another invisible line that is the super threatened zone. Once you have passed this line here, now the progress of the Daemonhost ritual speeds up a lot. And if you jump straight from, like say you stumble directly onto this thing and you aggro it and it starts summoning, then it will summon in 30 seconds. That's the fast speed for summoning. So you only have 30 seconds maximum from an empty bar in order to deal with this thing and get it knocked down. And so how you deal with it is you kill off all of the summoners. And if you kill some of the summoners, the speed of the progress bar goes down as well. So if you're like really out of range of one of these things and it starts summoning because someone shot a stray bullet, if a stray bullet hits one of the summoners, it immediately goes to this accelerated pace, and so it lowers the timer by a lot. So if you do have a line of sight on it and you can pick some of these summoners, you can slow it down considerably if you can get rid of a good portion of its summoning members. So that's how it's supposed to work, and obviously the fail state is if you don't stop it from filling up its health bar and summoning in time, it summons the Daemonhost in. And I don't know what the exact details are on this, but I understand that on lower difficulties of Havoc, the Daemonhost will go around and it'll kill 1 or 2 players, but on Havoc 40, the Daemonhost will not stop after it kills a player like it does in normal games. It will kill everybody on the team one by one. So it's of utmost importance to stop this thing from being summoned or deal with the demon host when it is spawned. And of course, just like all demon hosts, once it is spawned in, it teleports to your team and it starts to corrupt everyone's health who's nearby. So you get a big old health tax just from having the thing summoned in the first place. And this is why I like this mechanic, right? This mechanic is one of the few in the game that actually forces you to engage with it. You cannot just sit back and wait out the hordes, wait for it to be thin and go. You actually need to formulate a plan and deal with the situation before the timer fills up. If you wait too long in the slow mode, like staying way out here, then when you get within that threatened mode, it's only going to have a little bit left to go, and it'll fill up very quickly within like 10 seconds. So you need to manage your time correctly, and it demands your attention too. You cannot just get distracted by 50 million other things. Even if you're fighting bosses or whatever, you gotta drop all that, and you gotta get to this thing before it summons, or else you're gonna have a very, very problematic boss in your hands. So that's how it's supposed to work in theory, right? Let's start to talk about some issues that arise with the implemented theory of this mechanic. All right, so first let's talk about the problems that this system has mechanically. I don't want to get into any bugs or glitches. The bugs, which are myriad with this mechanic, those are going to be compounding factors for all the stuff that we'll discuss here. But the first stuff I want to discuss here, it all follows the general theme of this mechanic is poorly telegraphed, poorly explained to the player, and it just confuses and bewilders the player, and then it kills them. And that is a problem that I think that comes up far too often in Darktide, where mechanics and how they work aren't clearly explained. Not every player is going to engage with the game in such a way that they're going to go look up like video guides and how these things work. You would be shocked the amount of players that didn't know how this mechanic actually worked until I explained it to them in the game, and they are Havoc 40 players. So a lot of this stems around just obfuscation of information, which is a big problem that I've always had with Darktide. It's why I play with health bars. It's why I play with Danger Zone, right? Players should have this information because of just the general amount of threats. It's only fair that you have the information about what is actually going on, especially when the threat is as large as these Daemonhost rituals can be. So firstly, the problem that I think most players have is that there is no clear concept of where the triggers are. Both the initial trigger that starts this thing summoning in the first place and the aggravated trigger. The do or die trigger, right? The one where you have to kind of finish this thing off or else you're done. So what can happen is, or what's supposed to happen in ideal situations is you have line of sight on the demon host. You can see the big glowy ritual, and then the health bar, once you cross over a certain invisible line, then the health bar appears on the top of your screen and you go, okay, I know that we've just aggravated it. All right, so now we know that that's on the table, right? The problem is that on a lot of maps, you don't have line of sight. It just pops up the health bar on the top of your screen, and you look to your left and you look to your right, and you're like, where the fuck is that? Because you're supposed to hear the chanting, but oftentimes these things are so far away, or they're behind walls and stuff, or the chanting is like omnidirectional, and you can't really make heads or tails of it. And what it ultimately comes down to is, oh, I've played this map before. I know what bullshit the game is doing. It's actually like we're on path A, the main path of the game, and we progressed too far on the main path, and it was actually over on path B, where we should have gone into this alternate path where there's a couple of resources generally, but people don't go over there. That's where it spawned, and we got to backtrack or like sidetrack to get to it. And I can think of like 3 or 4 different maps where this is the case, and it can get extra bad because you can be in a situation where there's actually A, B, and C. I'm thinking about a couple of very large outdoor areas that have multiple potential spawn points for these things. I can't remember. It's like the start area of Enclave and Barros, if you can imagine that map. The one with the little church, or like with all the pews and stuff in it, with that high ground. And there can be one that spawns like outside of that on the ground by the tanks, and there can be one that spawns on the very, very far side of that arena. And in both map configurations that use that tile set, it can be hundreds of feet away from each other, and the spawn trigger can activate, and you can be like, okay, I guess we'll go check over to the right. You go check to the right, and it's not there, and then you get hit with the horde, and now you are 400 feet away from where the actual thing is, and it's been ticking in this whole time. So I think what needs to happen is there needs to be a physically visible effect that is in the air that lets players know, okay, we are entering into the threatened realm of this Daemonhost ritual. And here's my idea for this. Let me know if this sounds good to you. What I want it to look like is there's going to be like a magic effect in the air, and it's going to kind of look like this, where like, can I draw? Is that a thing I can do? Okay, the layer is hidden. Hold on, there we go. Okay, so what it's going to look like is like, rasterize the type. Jesus. Okay, I can't fucking draw. What's going on today? Pencil. 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 Can I just have a pencil? Sure, there we go. Okay, well, this is fucking terrible. But I don't know how to use Photoshop, guys. So what it's going to look like is like these wispy green things that are like kind of like motes of energy that are in the air, and then they start to go in a certain direction, and they are moving in the air. And so one, you can tell when those wispy green things are in the air that you are getting close to, or you're about to step into the zone where this thing will start progressing the bar on the top. And two, the energy, the direction the energy is going is like a little guide, like a beacon that sends you in the correct direction. So you just follow the flow of this green corrupted energy, and it's all being drawn towards the Daemonhost. So if you're on the map and the Daemonhost is over here and the other potential spot is over here, God, this is a horrible pencil, and you're coming down the middle, well, you won't get confused when the bar pops up at the top of your screen. You'll be like, oh, let's just follow the little wisps. It's taking me over here. And boom, problem solved. This would also solve the problem of having that threatened radius around the Daemonhost where you don't know, like, okay, if I pass, how close can I get before it's the do or die time, right? Before it starts that aggressive summoning speed. And to just make the effects that much more potent, like have that aura of light, and maybe there should be some corrupted ground effects or something like that within that radius, and that lets you know, okay, once you cross this line, you have to do something about this situation. Okay, so that's part one. The second part is that the summoning bar that's at the top of the screen is not at all a clear indicator of time. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm like figuring out how long I have before I need to go to work, or I'm figuring out how long this video is going to be, I don't use like a health bar that's just filling up in chunks to determine my time spacing in my day. I'm being a little bit glib, but it is incredibly, incredibly hard to interpolate how long you actually have to do something when the bar is filling in huge chunky segments. This is a problem that we had back in the 90s that we solved, where like waiting around for like dial-up or whatever to happen, the progress bar had no timer on it, and it wouldn't fill at a smooth rate. It would fill in big chunks that would be completely lopsided. So it would fill, like one chunk would fill it up like 1/4, and you'd be like, all right, we're making good progress. And you sit there and wait because you're expecting to finish it in a minute, and then the next chunk would come and it'd be like 10%, and it just completely threw you off. And that's one of the big problems with the bar here, is that you got this bar and it doesn't fill smoothly. It feels like boop, 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 like in big segments at a time. And that is almost impossible for players to tell how long they have to go. So what we should do is, one, make this progress smooth across the whole bar, and two, you should be putting a timer on this. Let's just cut the crap, because I'm certain there's going to be a mod that will add the timer in and be like one of the best quality of life things you could possibly have for this. There should just be a timer, because we all understand minutes and seconds and stuff like that, right? When the Daemonhost pops up and it says 3 minutes, now you can conceptualize, okay, 3 minutes. Okay, I understand how much 3 minutes is in real time. Now I know what I'm working with. Rather than, oh, there's a bar. I have looks like about 90% of a bar left. Oh, it just moved by 15%. How long until it moves again? And then you like have to watch it for 20 seconds to figure out how long you have. So this would be amazing also once you enter into this aggravated range and it speeds up. Now you don't have to be like, oh my god, we have 5 seconds. It'll show you at the top. Now you have 30 seconds. Now you have 18 seconds. And this would also go hand in hand with my next problem with this thing, is that when you kill the summoners, it does not provide you a clear reward. It does not clearly telegraph that it is actually slowing down, hampering the ritual summoning. Because this is something that I mentioned to players that are playing Havoc 40 with me, that have True Survivor, that have thousands of levels, and I'll say, oh, don't worry about it, guys. There's only 2 summoners left, and there's 25% left in the bar. It's going to take them a while because it slows it down. They're like, what? Really? Because that is not clear. Because what happens is players either commit all the way and they kill all of them because they see the bar is like pretty full, and they're like, oh my god, it moves in these big unpredictable chunks. So I mean, it could go up by a big chunk in the next 1 second and summon the thing in. We need to kill them all now. They'll drop everything to kill these summoners because they have no idea in a matter of seconds, which we all use to calculate our time, how long they actually have left. The other option is they just get, don't kill any of them at all, and because they don't know that they only have a few seconds left, and it overwhelms them, and it just happens, and then they get killed. So I think if you put a timer on the bar and the timer goes down to 18 seconds, and you kill 3 of the summoners, and now it goes back up to 29 seconds, you go, phew, okay, I have a second to spare to deal with this crusher that's been chasing him around and this trapper that's like about to come in, right? You would suddenly realize, okay, I don't have to literally be dropping everything and like tunnel visioning on these summoners. I have bought myself a little bit of time by killing these things, which players aren't doing currently because it's not clear that the summoning speed has been slowed in that last little bit of percent. This is also compounded by another factor, which I'm not listing in this list. I guess I'll put it in the bugs section, but the bar isn't like fair. It triggers the Daemonhost summoning in when the bar isn't even full. So a lot of times the bar will be like 95% full, and then it summons in, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, it's not, just have the bar at least fill up. It's so weird, so inconsistent. It feels really bad when that happens. But speaking of really bad feelings, when you can't find the damn thing. This is something that happens a lot on bigger maps, or maps that have like multiple different paths. I'm thinking like Foundry Complex, or the one with the like the cryo cells you put in. There's like A and B paths in that layout, and it'll spawn them on the B path, and you're on the main path of the mission, and even though you really didn't go near the ritual at all, the game realizes, okay, you've progressed past point X on the main path. That means that you should have encountered this ritual that's now behind you. I'm going to put the bar on the top of the screen and start summoning it. And you're like, what the fuck? You look around, where is this exactly? And then you just basically kind of have to know where this thing is, based on having lost games to having this bullshit before. This is, I don't know if I addressed it already, but this is something that happens a lot on these larger maps, where you'll go all the way over to one side looking for this thing, and it's not there, and then you realize that, oh shoot, it was actually in the next room behind where we were. We need to go back to where we were and progress to the next room, and that takes so long, and then you get hung up behind a horde, and a boss spawns, and then it spawns in, and it's GG. So I think that the idea I had earlier with this stuff, with the little wispy things that directs you in the correct path, is the solution to this. Just make it so that the rituals are very obvious, so that you can get to them, so you know at least where they are, so you're fighting in the right direction. Because so many times what can happen is you get into a huge fight, and you can see that the health bar, or you can, most times, some exceptions, you can actually see the summoning bar at the top of the screen and be like, okay, that is a threat we have to deal with. I don't really know where it is right now, but I just need to fight through this threat, and I guess we'll kind of progress towards where we think it is, and then it's not there. That is a really defeating feeling. I think you should always have the information of where the rituals are, and the sound is too omnidirectional for the chanting to use, plus it's washed out by the amount of other sounds that are going on 90% of the time. But Also, yeah, there's no visual indicator unless you can directly see the dang thing. Even though it has a glowing bright light, that bright light is very localized. I think that should be much more clear to, looking at a room that has one of these things in it, you should see the green light emanating from that room, is my thoughts in that matter. All right, and then finally, and perhaps the most frustrating thing of all of these mechanical problems that I have with it, is just how damn punishing it is to fail. What's going on here? To fail this mechanic, right? This is swap that. There we go. This is the compounding factor for all of these other factors, is that when you do fail this mechanic, and you will, it ends your game most of the time. On lower difficulties, right, the duder comes in and he comes in, or she, I guess, comes and murders 2 of your dudes and then pieces out. That's good enough for the warp today. But on higher difficulties, it kills every single person on the team one by one. And so what you end up having is a situation where it either summons in and you guys were all ready for it and you had your ultimate abilities ready and you dumpster it. You immediately dogpile this thing, you shove it off a ledge, you clobber it, you throw grenades, you shout, all that stuff, and you use all your firepower on it and eliminate it instantly. Or you have a situation where everything is already going bad. You committed trying to kill the summon, and it gets summoned in anyway, and now any chance of clutching the situation, solving the situation, is completely dead, because maybe you lost a player, or a player got downed or knocked low while you were trying to kill the summoners and you didn't quite do it, and now it's summoned in this 50,000 health Daemonhost that will kill every single person on the team. I think that is a flaw, because it kills every single person on the team on Havoc 40, which is already hard enough without just an auto lose condition, right? If this thing came in and, one, it corrupts the health of everyone around it, so you're automatically going to lose a percentage of your health if you're all playing grouped up, which you probably are anyway, and then it's going to kill 2 players. You were already in a bad enough situation there, playing on Havoc 40 with 2 players, having to make it to the next spawn point through whatever other bosses and whatever other spawn waves that are going to come your way. I think that is enough challenge. You don't need to have it be this guaranteed auto lose. For me, so many times when we fail to actually, solve the Daemonhost summoning in time, it's because we were moving towards it and the twins came in. And they were like, hey, fuck you, here we are. We're here to, ruin your game. And we're like, God damn it. And someone tries to commit and, get the thing killed. They don't quite get it killed. And then the Daemonhost comes in. And all you want to do is just take your fucking hands off your keyboard and just throw them up in the air and go, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do at this point? Because even if I kill the twins, or even one of the twins, the Daemonhost is just going to go until everyone's dead. Eventually, it's going to break the block and kill the person who's kiting it around. I know that you can infinitely kite Daemonhost, guys. I know that players can be that good. Find me a team of all those players, and I'll play exclusive with them forever, right? But eventually it's going to kill one player. It's going to kill the Psyker. Now you don't have Bubble. Then it's going to kill the Veteran. Now you don't have Shout. And now you don't have enough firepower to kill it anyway. Plus you have all that other shit you're already dealing with. And you can't get to the respawn point because it's going to teleport after you. So it's just too challenging of an enemy to have it just go one by one and kill every single person. And it just leads to a situation where there's nothing else you can do. If it gets summoned in and the situation's already fucked, you might as well just GG and go next, is how I feel. So just turn it back to where it is for all the other difficulties, make it kill 2 players, and then peace out, and then the remaining 2 players have a cool clutch situation on their hands where they have to make it through the Havoc 40 difficulty with corrupted health and get to the next waypoint to get their allies up. I think that would be much more engaging for all considered. All right, let's go on and talk about the bugs with this, which are myriad and are really probably the most aggravating part of this whole mechanic. Okay, so now let's talk about the bugs that affect this mechanic that are really, really irritating, and I feel like every day I'm encountering at least one of these when I'm dealing with these dang things. The first one is something that I already mentioned, which is that the health bar, the actual progress bar for finishing this thing, is not synced. It doesn't actually fill up when the Daemonhost gets summoned in. You'll be close to having it finished, you'll be like down to nail-biter status, but then it'll summon in and you're just like, well, fuck. I think this is in part caused by the fact that the progress of the bar is not smooth, and perhaps it just doesn't show that final chunk of it filling up, but it's really, really deceptive when it looks like you're close and you might make it, and you're committing to get the last little thing done, when what you should have been doing is running away and getting committed to, getting yourself into a better position. So that's one instance of a bug that can affect this. A second one is that there are myriad incorrectly placed triggers in these maps. I've commented on a few of them on Fat Shark's forums, in the bug fixes section. I've made videos showcasing them. You've seen them on streams tons of times, and now players are getting wise to them, but there are a ton of incorrectly placed triggers that will spawn these things in when you are nowhere near them. And I'm not even talking about just the starting spawn, where it's like, okay, yeah, it's summoning and it's like 2.5 rooms away, but no, there's also triggers that spawn it in at the aggressive 30-second rate when you are 2 rooms away. What is it? The power station map has one of these, and so does Vigil Station Oblivion. They both have ones where you come to a bridge area, and for some reason the game decides that you have wandered far too close to this thing, even though you were hundreds of yards away, and that you have 30 seconds to get there. And so you have to drop everything, you have to bum rush through all the enemies. On Vigil Station, it's next to impossible to get there in time to stop it, so you pretty much just have to siege up and get ready to weather the tax to your health and perhaps your character's lives you're about to take. So that is a huge bug. The other bug that I've encountered a good number of times is double rituals. These rituals spawn in and they are overlapped, or they are like right next to each other. And I don't think this is intended. It's definitely not intended when they one-to-one overlap. I've had this happen 2 times where they are, there's just 2 dudes. In every spot where there's 1 dude, there's 2 dudes. And it's bizarre when it happens, because you'll get 2 Daemonhosts if you don't deal with it in time. But the more damning one is the one where there's 2 in the same area, and they definitely aren't supposed to be that close together, and it summons in one, or like when you go in to get one, the other one picks up that aggressive summon speed. I don't think that they are intended to be that closely spaced together, and there are certain maps in the game where what's the map? I think it's Enclavum. It's not Enclavum Barros. It's shoot, someone tell me in the comments. But you start and you go over the big bridge, the bridge that lowers, but it's already lowered, and you go over it in reverse. And rituals can spawn at the top of that bridge on the first end on both sides. And so once you crest the top of those stairs, you have one directly in front of you that you need to go and get, but there's also one that's 200 feet away on the other side of the bridge that you also need to get. And that is just not fair. I don't think it's intended, and it fucks the game up every time that happens. The fourth thing is something that probably many people have seen, is that Daemonhosts now, after this patch with the rituals, seem to exist in a sort of quantum state with the fucking floor, where they just clip through this thing constantly. Now, one of the things about Daemonhosts is they're kind of hard to lock down, right? They're kind of hard to actually hit because they're whipping their fucking chains and their claws all over the place. They're moving, they're knocking back the player who they're targeted on. They're already a nightmare enough, and now you've got a situation where when they are attacking, they will like get increasingly tilted, and then they'll clip through the floor. So you'll like be trying to hit them with a thunder hammer or something, and they are in the ground, and you can't. And that also stops you from shoving them correctly and getting the correct spacing on them. They are just all over the place, like they are flipping around sides on players because you can't actually track where they are because they're going into the floor. And I have no idea why this happened. This only started happening after they introduced these rituals, even though Daemonhosts are still programmed the same way. Then we've got the problem with the summoning bar being hidden. I think this is the last one, actually. Oh, no, sorry. Spoilers. Summoning bar can be hidden if there's other boss bars on the screen. And wouldn't you know it, there's a lot of boss bars on the screen in Havoc a lot of times, right? Those boss bars fill up the screen when you have like the twins, that's 2 different bars. When you have weakened bosses, that's a bar. When you have a captain, that's a bar. And what happened to me yesterday is one of these demon hosts was somewhere in the arena. It was on that B path. It was way off to the side. Now, we would have been easily able to deal with it if we had seen it at all, but it wasn't anywhere that anyone would check, and the only way we would have known it was there is if we had seen the health bar at the top of the screen. But we were busy kiting around a Beast of Nurgle and a captain and a chaos spawn, and so all of the spots at the top of the screen were already occupied before the summoning started, and so we never had any clue. And once we had one player who was killed and we were trying to get up to the top of the tower and get a rescue in the next player, I turned around and I looked down and I saw the summoning ritual. And then, of course, the demon host summoned in. And we just said, fuck. And it was pretty much guaranteed over from there because we're already down a player and we're scattered because there's 2 bosses on us and a captain. And now we have a fucking demon host that's not going to stop until every single person is dead. So it was just GG at that point. And that was because we didn't have the information we needed about that summoning being present at all. Okay, and then the final thing that I think is just a general thing that plagues a lot of the game is performance and clarity when it comes to what is actually going on in those circles. One, the screen effects, the blearing effects. I've always had a problem with this with demon hosts. I have it turned off using a mod, but the oh my god, I think I have acid in my eyes effects that the demon hosts do to you when they are like near you and you can't actually see. I mean, it's hard enough to pin down a demon host, but now they are like making your vision look like someone smeared Vaseline all over your monitor. That's one problem, but these summoning rituals, they make my computer chug. I have a 3070, so that shouldn't really be that much of a problem for a game that came out in fucking like 2018 or whatever. Wait, no, that's not right. 2022. Like, this game isn't that crazy demanding, but these rituals, I can tell when they're on the map because my frames drop by like 20. And those like green lighting effects are just horrible to look at. And they tank performance, and they make it impossible to see what's going on. You can't see because there's a big ball of energy there, like around the demon host that they're channeling into that's like semi-opaque, and you can't see past that ball of energy to see what you're actually targeting. You can't see where the beams of energy are going into the ritualists. So I think there needs to be a clarity overpass overhaul on those ritualists and make them stand out more, because those are the priority targets and they are dull. They don't have any energy. Obviously there's a lightning beam pointing at them, but because it's the same color as that big ball of energy in the center, at angles that aren't like directly to the side, you can't see where it's pointing, and so you're like kind of just shooting blindly and trying to hit the right thing. This is a problem that Darktide has more and more as Havoc gets crazier and crazier, but visual clarity and telling what the fuck is actually going on when there's so many enemies on the screen is becoming increasingly important, and it's at its worst when you have these demon host rituals and there's like 8 dudes that are all doing crazy particle effects all over the place trying to knock them down. It's like a team fight in League of Legends. Anyway, guys, that is all for me for the day. Let me know what you think about these rituals down in the comments. Like I said before, I think they're a really cool mechanic. I would love to see them be updated and fixed in the ways I've suggested here, and then brought in for like some sort of event or something, because I think it's definitely something that's cool enough that players who don't play Havocs would be interested in playing around with them, and they are a cool decision-making sort of decision-forcing mechanic for the game. But that's it. That's all I have to say. Make certain you're liked and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you very soon. Mr. Yeah, bye.